All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
The sun broke through like a whisper inside, painted gold on the tears in your eye. The clock ticked loud in the hollow of time. We stood at the edge of a long, lonesome line. Words got caught in a tangled embrace. Too much to feel, too much to face. This is the day of goodbyes, my friend, where every moment must find its end.
And good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. This is hour number 2 of tonight's show, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. My guest this hour is Mary RAMEY Gray, founder of Mass Soul Infusion. The website is masssoulinfusion.com. A quantum shifter and spiritual consultant, Mary leads groups, meditations, spiritual house cleanings, psychic medium sessions, and soul transformation therapies. And joining me now is it's Mary RAMEY Gray, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mary.
Well, first, good evening, Rob, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
A little bit about myself is the interesting shift for me personally that had changed was going through breast cancer. And I had to go through chemo.
Mm-hmm.
And with the chemo itself and the treatment, it changed how my mind did think. So it's like losing words, how your mind would create a sentence. And instead, I would visualize or just be able to see the energy of different scenarios and situations. And the one thing that I knew was that something was either right or it was wrong. Like it was black and white. It was pretty simple. So that definitely led to this exponential growth in the spiritual realm.
I understand that you say cancer is a spiritual experience. How so?
Yes. I knew, like when I was diagnosed, that because of who I was, just being kind of a psychic medium and everything, that I was being given an opportunity to go through it in a very unique way. And in order to be able to share this experience with others, I wanted to honor that journey. In the middle of the chemo, when it was like really painful, and I'm curled up, and in that moment, I could feel how many people had felt that same suffering, whether it was the parents or babies or children, grandparents. And when I was able to write 2 days later, because I posted a lot of the journey on my personal Facebook page, and I wrote and I said, thank you, God, and please give people extra love today and extra hugs today for everybody who's been here and everybody who made them dinner or supported them, and I just felt it so much. And I just wrote it as from that place, and I received like 168 thank you letters, which I was not expecting. And just saying, like, I felt that, and we were there, and Like, it changed people. It was just amazing as one experience.
Mary, let's start at the beginning. What first drew you towards spirituality and energy work?
I started to have interesting memories, like as a child, and I would know things as a child, like a very young child. Even being at a few years old, I would know circumstances. Like, I could feel people when they would change, even my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if my mom was not right in her normal self, like, I could really feel it, and I could ask her, and she would just be like, how do you know that? like, I don't know, I just know. So that's kind of the early experiences of that.
Now, you describe Mass Soul Infusion as directed intention for all. How did this concept come into being?
Well, I love that you asked. I had sent an intention to change the world. Like, you know what I mean? For the world to feel better, people to feel better, clean water, things like that. And when you set just firm intentions, they kind of have a way of showing up in your life. And when you expand your awareness, you recognize when that happens. And so if you think about changing the world, there's a massive amount of souls on the planet. And so in order to create an energetic shift, it's kind of infusing a newness. And my friend, Dr. Wendy Peterman, helped me come together with Mass Soul Infusion. And that's how we linked it together. So I very much give her credit on that part of my website, because that was brilliant.
Can you explain what quantum shifting means in your work?
In my particular work, when you have a change of awareness, like how you see the world, that is your quantum shifting. To give for instance, in a practical way, through radiation, and this is my experience, and I did share it with the doctors too, and they had lotion, and it would, that you're supposed to have, to help protect your skin. And when I was watching it and how they were, showing you how to apply it before you started it, it didn't quite sit with me in that way. And there was something that was a little off. And so I could see the particles. So this was like that quantum shift when you see actual energy coming out, whether it's a third eye view, or it's something you see, but it's a quantum shift. Like, you take that scenario and you move it slightly to the side, and you take a look at it again from that standpoint. So the reasoning, which is your practical 3D, like you put the lotion on to protect your skin, but something new that there was a little bit different to that. And so what I got was using a spray tan. And that a spray tan covers the skin similarly to one of the lotions that they use, yet it never enters the skin. And so when the radiation would come, as soon as you take a shower, the radiation disappears. And so that is a quantum shift of being able to see something right in front of you, but to see it differently. It's a taking a turn on it and looking at it again.
Your website speaks of group meditations for companies, families, communities. What's the power of collective intention?
I'm so glad you asked that, because the power of collective intention is slightly different when people join together, to have a picnic, have a celebration. That's a, collective energy with intention, like we're going to celebrate somewhere. But when you do it and you set it as a meditation, like together we are going to relax our feelings, or together maybe we will put aside grievances in a meditation. Or in a company, like together we're going to put a goal of how harmonious working environment that we all love to be in. That just takes it to another level, which is really cool.
You offer spiritual house cleanings and body scans. Can you walk us through one?
Sure. So, spiritual house cleanings, when I enter the place of residence, and they have different, I can feel the movement of the people that had been there. So whether they have passed or not, does not change the residual energy that they've left somewhere. And especially if they, I don't know, maybe try to play in other realms, that kind of thing, those, they surface in the home as well, or the building. And as I'm walking through, I can feel the energy of where they've been and their intention. And so when I feel their intention, whether it was through anger or maliciousness, then that I can clear out. So whether it's using like holy smoke wood or sage or a crystal, something that is known to pull negative energy from a particular place, and you have that intention because you have found it, that would be in the home. In a body scan, the intention is that I go through from top to bottom, from your head down to your toes. And if anything lights up, I will feel it in myself. And I will say to you, like, did somebody just have like a stint put in or something? Like, I will feel it. And, but if I'm with you, I can put my hands on you if it's okay, and just kind of feel to the areas that I'm drawn to, and that area will become really hot to my touch, and I'll know that that's where it's located at. And where it is again, like an angst or an old trauma or something like that that's stored in the body that really wants to surface to release. Same as in a home.
How long have you been doing these body scans?
I've been doing the body scans a lot since coming out of chemo, because like I said, I literally could see things so much differently, and I could see energy in a higher fashion. Like I would do something similar to Reiki and things like that, you know, before chemo. But once I went through the chemotherapy, it just, I don't have to prepare, you know, per se or anything, or I just can do it really kind of on demand.
All right, you and I have to take a break. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is MERI RAMEY Gray, and her website is masssoulinfusion.com. And MERI and I will be back on the other side of this short break, so whatever you do, don't go away. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca.
The tears in your eye, the clock ticked loud in the hollow of time. We stood at the edge of a long, lonesome line. Words got caught in a tangled embrace. Too much to feel, too much to face. This is the day of goodbye. In a quiet town called Carricknan, near the river's gentle call, lived a woman with a light so pure, she gave her love to all. She walked the streets of Montreal with grace and steady hands, working for the salvage folk from far off London lands. My mother, my friend, a soul so kind, a guardian angel through space and time. With open arms and a heart so wide, she stood by me, by every side. From Camley's lanes to Heaven's Hall, she was a guardian angel to all.
Exonation. Mary RAMEY Gray is our special guest this hour. Her website is masssoulinfusion.com. Mary, you talk about intuitive rock reading. What is that?
Well, intuitive readings themselves are just unique to the individual. So if you sit down with me, it can just begin to come through. Like if there's somebody who's passed away who's waiting for you, they can come through and we can start talking about that. Sometimes we just start talking like coffee talk. And there's something in the words that they're saying that can seem just completely random to them. But there's an energy in them that I can see. And it will connect to something that is going on presently. Or we can also do using tarot cards and pulling it that way. And there's also past lives. Sometimes that also comes through too. So it is absolutely unique to the person receiving the message. It really has nothing to do with me. You know, it's how they receive that is really important, which is why the intuitive part really counts.
So, take me through a reading. Somebody contacts you and they say, Mary, I'd like to get a reading. How long do the readings take?
Generally speaking, the readings, especially if it's the first one, is usually about an hour and a half, because we start in on what they really want to talk about, you know, because usually you have an idea if you're reaching out to somebody, and you're like, this is what I want to do. And for instance, you can say, I really want to make these changes. I don't know why I feel stuck in my life. Here's just a really good scenario. Well, if it's a man or a woman, and we'll say it's a woman, how old was your mom when she stopped working? And they're like, well, I don't know. She might have been like 52. Well, how old are you now? You know what I mean? Like, there's different scenarios that literally will become present without their knowledge. Like, they just think that they're kind of stuck. But generally speaking, in that stuckness is almost like an epigenetic kind of thing. There is something about their environment prior to that helped bring them here. And so we just kind of start that way. And then we can develop from there. So if they're like, oh, I never thought about how my mom didn't do that, you know, and then you say, well, what did your mom do to kind of move out of that? Where did she go? Oh, well, she went and did this. Well, do you feel comfortable doing something like that now? And it's so unique and so cool. Like, we can start doing that. And if there's anything that shows up in the body, like, I will feel that, and I can ask them, like, hey, did somebody have, like, a head injury recently? And it's like, oh, yeah, that happened. And I'm like, well, that's coming up in here. And then we'll go to the cards, like, as an ending, as a kind of wrap-up, you know?
Now, Mary, you've been called a messenger and a medium. What is receiving messages for other people like? What's it like to communicate with the other side?
I began to have kind of a newer and a more freeing way to speak. And generally speaking, if there is somebody who has crossed over from the other side, and whether they have a loved one near me or not, but if they really want my attention, our energies match, and they interact with me with how they passed. And that's always going to get my attention. And since that's in my wheelhouse of, if you're going to get my attention, do this. And then I can hear them. And then their messages start to come through. And it's not like necessarily always an audible voice. In fact, it rarely is. It feels like you are talking to yourself. But the person's telling you things that you yourself have no idea. But yet it seems familiar. Like, all of a sudden, I'm in Florida, and I have 2 children, but they don't live near me. Like, all of a sudden, I know these things. And it's like I personally know them, but I know I don't know them at all. But that's what it feels like. It's like it is your own voice, but it's not anything that you yourself would know. That's the difference.
You've worked with clients who are near death or sedated. How does that connection differ?
When people are near death or sedated, they literally leave their body and are traveling in between realms. And I can watch them. And again, it's a third eye, but I watch their energy and soul travel over. And when they do that, I will hear them talk. They will say their last wishes. They will say things that they would like. And that's giving, like, their last messages sometimes to their loved ones. Like, can we get this person together? You know, things like that. Also, in addition to, it's kind of cute because it's like watching them become Peter Pan or Tinkerbell. Like, they're like, oh my God, I can fly. And then they go back to their body. And then they leave. They're like, I can fly. And then they go back. But that happens for probably, I want to say a total of a couple months. Because once they pass, if they pass, they say and do the same thing. They don't enter the body per se, but they don't realize that their body's not back. Because since time is not relevant on the other side, they don't realize that there's not really a body to come back to. But they do realize that people are moving and things like that, but they still have a lot of messages and their energy is still very active here on the earth plane.
What was one of the most profound messages that you've ever delivered, Mary?
My goodness. One of the messages I had to deliver was from a woman who was not supposed to be alive. She was supposed to have passed 2 years prior to, but she could not. And she could not because she really needed to give a message to her daughter. But her and her daughter did not have a good relationship at all. And I heard her, and again, these are things that I personally would not know in any way, shape, or form. And I tried to reach her daughter. I went to go visit her daughter, and she was not home. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to stop at, a small little shop, and I got stationery and an envelope and a pen. And I wrote and really just channeled her mom or just let her mom speak, and I just wrote. And it was like a 6-page letter. And I had a friend who was friends, with this lady, and I went back to her house, and, she wasn't there, which is all okay. The energy of not being available is kind of why I had to write the letter, because the mom and the daughter couldn't get together, so even energetically they couldn't. And my friend called me about 3 hours later and said, Mary, she got the letter, and she knew that obviously it was not her mom who delivered it. She goes, but Mary would not know any of these things. And she said, and I'm going to go see my mom tonight.
How do you explain how that
That
happens?
brought them together.
How do you explain how that works? It seems so far-fetched, and yet so many people have had these kind of experiences.
Oh, absolutely. One, I think some people are kind of chosen to, really. And with doing similar stuff like this to me my whole life, it doesn't seem odd at all. But I understand that there's many people who just don't or may not have tried or think that it's possible. That's all very fair. But I made it a point. And like I said, I'm very honored and humbled. And so if there's anything that I can do for anyone, I'm here for that. And that, I always ask, how may I serve? And I feel like that's a really good place to start if you're ever looking to do this kind of work.
You found a Center for Quantum Change. What inspired that step?
When people feel like the only answer that they have is right in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's no other option, that is not true. So similar to looking at something and taking a turn on it, it's like putting that entire energy into a kaleidoscope. Because as you keep turning the kaleidoscope, something new appears, something new appears, something new appears. And you can absolutely change everything that's going on in your life, all of it. You can shift even the energy that's like moving your foot. If your foot has like a similar pain, there's different things that can enter that area, because a lot of pains or ailments or disease come from stored emotional trauma. And going into that area is not something a regular doctor or clinic is going to think about or give an option. And if you are doing healing techniques, even if it's Reiki, maybe you're doing red light therapy. Maybe you just are doing grounding or meditation. You're finding different ways, gentle, to your body and to your mind and to your heart, to help you maneuver and to bring things out so that you don't have to keep carrying these things on. It's so transforming. Like, it changes even how you receive money, how you receive love, how kind you are. Like, your body just becomes so relaxed and your soul really gets to shine. It's just amazing. Like, I can't say enough.
Mary, stand by, Mary. We've got to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, I guess this hour is Mary RAMEY Gray, and she's the founder of Mass Soul Infusion, and her website is masssoulinfusion.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Montreal with grace and steady hands, working for the salvage folk from far off London lands. My mother, my friend, a soul so kind, a guardian angel through space and time. With open arms and a heart so wide, she stood by me by every side. Some days I walk, some days I crawl, some days I can't feel much at all. My body's a maze that I try to read. Every step forward, a silent need. But I won't let this break who I am. I've learned how to fight, learned how to stand. I may fall, but still I rise. Through the pain, through the tears in my eyes. This road is long, but it's mine to tread. With every sunrise, I lift my head. I won't be defined by what I can't do. Still I rise, and I always will too.
Let's talk about legacy, Mary. Your sessions in conferences like Fresh Life Ahead. What core message do you share?
With the legacy itself, I take, again, a slight little quarter turn on it. And the leave a legacy, when you have that intention, and like I said, every intention is extremely powerful. You have no idea just how the universe is going to work in your favor when you claim that. And so when you leave a legacy, you know that what came before you is not necessarily what you want to all pass on to the younger generation. And that's even including being able to have a voice. Like when children would be, not heard, they're just seen. And so we would be taught to be silent. Like that's just one for instance. And it's being able to talk about how you would like things to change, how you would like to be heard, but without judgment upon anyone before you, because they only knew what they themselves had been taught and were raised with. And so as you keep shifting and making your voice a willing participant in your life, then you are going to leave a legacy with those around you of less judgment, of being able to speak. And so therefore it doesn't ball up and become, something very angry, because that is what we're trying to change, because that does lead to, disease and illnesses. It's definitely a factor. And by doing these little bits of change, and then we're teaching our kids how to be able to speak appropriately, how to have a conversation, even if it's something that they're upset about, as long as they're not taking the anger out on a person. But they can have the anger and have it come through, but then they don't have to hold on to it because they got to speak. So that's kind of a really big part of it.
You've written Baby's Guide to Parents. How did your early childhood influence your spiritual path?
Oh my goodness. Like I said, I knew things and I thought everybody just did. And so as a baby, I very much knew that my mother, loved me and adored me. My dad had a regular, 9-to-5 job, but it would be like 8 to 6 because of travel and things. And on the weekends, there'd be lots of playing in the leaves. Like I was a year and a half old and like stuff in all the big, puffy jackets and everything, because it would be chilly up in Connecticut. And it would just be so much fun, and I felt free all the time. I felt open to express myself. I felt that every day was so much fun. And that was a huge participant in being able to write that book, because you want every day to be so much fun, especially for the baby and the parents.
Is there an underlying philosophy behind all mass soul infusion offerings, or how does that work?
Well, the underlying part is that a lot of the souls, beforehand had a lot of rules. Like, you are only welcome in this area if you're this. You are only to be heard when spoken to. You are only allowed to create change if you are given the opportunity, and please do not break the rules. And those rules gave so much constriction to the masses that's how there's so much prevalence of disease and sickness and illness, and people do not know how to help heal themselves.
But who came up with these rules?
With what?
Who came up with the rules?
Well, a lot of kings and queens and, even different, religions, having to have, in this house, we only serve, or you cannot be divorced and be able to be here because you're going to fail the family. I mean, it's such a social all the way around the world, like it is in the masses, and people just really want to be accepted by each other.
How does someone new to meditation or energy work begin with you?
Well, always the first simple meditation you can do just 2 minutes, because oftentimes people easily say, I can't meditate because my mind doesn't stop, and that's okay. So a simple, 2-minute meditation can have a mantra in it. And it gives the mind something to do. And so the mind gets redirected into a center. And so even if your mantra is, I feel calm in this moment, that is such an easy, simple way to step into meditation. And if you wanted to step into Reiki or to healing, you can talk through your body, like tell your mind, relax, it's okay. Tell your eyes, relax, it's okay. Tell your cheeks, your mouth, your shoulders, walk yourself down your body while laying down. That in and of itself is going to change the cells of your body and add healing. And it is so simple.
What misconceptions about psychic or intuitive work bothers you?
Well, what would be? I think some people think that, like, you're just in it for the money, like it's just a street hustle, you know? Like the people on the sidewalks at the table, and they're telling you something horrible is going to happen to you unless you spend $1,000 with me. I think that's real.
Okay. You've had personal health challenges. How did they shape your spiritual practice?
You know, when I knew when I was standing in line in the imaging center, and it was April 2021, and COVID was kind of just opening up, like you could go to an imaging center. And there was a sign there that day, and it said, walk-in mammogram today, available. And as soon as I read the sign, I knew and I heard, you have to do that because you have breast cancer. And I looked in the ceiling, and I said, I'm not listening to the second half of that sentence because you got to give me a minute because that's really big. But I did make the appointment. I had it for 3 hours later that afternoon, and I got called back the next day. The next day was a Friday, to come back on a Monday. And I came back on Monday, had a mammogram, ultrasound, and then a biopsy. And by Tuesday at 10:30, it was confirmed that I had cancer. And like I said, I knew. And I could not be mad. That was like number one. I couldn't be mad. That was the first thing that I learned. Because if I was mad, I was going to miss what I was supposed to learn from it. And in addition to finding out through my body the different things that had been having a hard time, I found out how much I neglected my own self and how much I didn't love things the way that I really wanted to. And I realized that my desire to just be happy and to be loved was actually not working because it was breast cancer, and the cancer was right near my heart.
Wow.
And from that, I realized that I was doing things that I didn't love, trying to get love. And that is powerful. And that, in and of itself, for me personally, changed me and how I approach life.
How long have you been cancer-free now?
Well, the end of my treatments was in January 2022.
Wow.
So we're right at 3.5 years.
That's wonderful to hear. That is wonderful to hear. I understand that you see angels.
Oh, yes, I do.
Tell me about some angel experiences that you've had.
Well, definitely one of the biggest experiences was when they had come down to protect my sister. And I personally had not seen angels before of my own, like even in a third eye view. But I knew that there was something that really bad was going to happen, and my sister was going to die. There was going to be a really bad accident. And I prayed and prayed, and I was like, please like my sister can't go through this. I was like, she's by herself. She doesn't even have any kids. She doesn't take up a lot of earth space. Like you try to make these bargains. And the next day, because this was like 3 days, because she was leaving in a week, and I said, please. And I was shown the third day how the angels took the explosion that was to happen, and they appeared in the corners of the building, and they packed it back into the instrument. And I knew my sister was going to be okay. And I did go meet her at the airport before she left, and I was just like, I know it's going to be okay. The interesting part was it still blew up, but only 24 hours after my sister left.
Fascinating. Stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. Exonation, our guest this hour is Mary RAMEY Gray. Her website is... All right, do you have your pencils and paper ready? Okay, Exonation, here it is. MassSoulInfusion.com. And we'll be back as we wrap up this hour and tonight's show here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
That I try to read every step forward, a silent need, but I won't let this break who I am. I've learned how to fight, learned how to stand. I may fall, but still I rise. In the twilight's hush, where shadows whisper low, a silver glimmer streaks across the sky, aglow with a haunting melody. The air begins to thrum, an echo of the wonders that from beyond have come. Celestial encounter as the stars align, a tapestry of wonders woven through space and time. From the void of darkness, a chorus sings so bright, mysteries unfolding in the velvet night. Through the gauze of silence,
Exonation, Mary RAMEY Gray is our special guest this hour, and her website is MassSoulInfusion.com. What daily spiritual practices keep you centered, Mary?
Every morning is always the best time for me personally to make sure that I am centered to start my day. So I always meditate first, and it can be a simple meditation. Sometimes I'll do several because it just feels like so good, like the weather's great, and then I journal. And the first thing that I do is I just say thank you, and thank you. Thank you for the air. Thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for the rain. Like, it doesn't matter when you're grateful for all of life, that it is going to work with you. It doesn't mean, bad things don't happen or anything. Those are life experiences, and that is why we're here.
Who are you thanking?
Personally, I just thank God. Because to me, that's who I've always spoken with, even as a child. Like, if I would hear things or be instructed to do things, I just assumed it was God.
What role does intention play when you're healing someone?
The role of intention is the first one. Without intention, everything has a temporary status to give a few words. When you set an intention, my intention is for this healing to take place and for you to feel warmth and loved. Pretty simple intention, but it's very powerful. And when you set that, then the things that come to serve that get to arise. Without it, it doesn't have a graspability.
Can you give us an example of the intention and how it plays in the healing?
Sure. Okay, so I love that you asked this. A lot of people oftentimes can say, well, I really hope I feel better. And I'm just going to say that is not an intention you want to say, because there's a part of you that thinks it's not going to work. And so that's not the intention. Your intention is present, and it's whole, and it's purposeful, and it's positive. So your intention can be simply, I am healed. And everything that has to come to meet that intention surfaces. But that is a very powerful and easy intention that claims it to be true. Because without you, it has no power.
I see. You speak of breaking generational pain, Mary. How does one start that process?
The first part in starting the process is recognizing that some things may not have actually been right to do. And for instance, to say, children are to be seen and not heard. And that's just a very simple, oftentimes most people understand. And so the child never knew how to talk, even if it was about simple feelings and emotions, and I mean simple. And so as emotions grew, if you don't learn how to talk through simple emotions, the harder emotions, you don't learn how to talk either. And so by being able to express yourself and to do it in just a simple way, without trying to harm others or anything, like just learning to be able to express your emotions, then those emotions don't get stored in the body. When those emotions store in the body often enough and become a literal change to the DNA vibration, that particular person becomes a parent. That vibration and sequence of DNA shift goes to the next generation. And this is why the epigenetics of trauma literally shifts vibrationally DNA and goes through generations. So in order to back that up and to create that change, you have to go back through the generations of why things happened of emotional trauma or drama, things of circumstance, to be able to take it apart. And so therefore you're changing the vibrational sequencing of the DNA.
So is this like past life regression?
No, not at all.
No,
It is current state. Like you're awake, we're having a conversation, and you can realize that your mother taught you this. You don't need a past life for that. From the energy of that conversation of your mom, and then there's her mother. And again, you don't have to do past life in order to do that. You can do it present, right now, and we can walk through it without judgment and realize who held the torch. Even if it's 2 generations back, that's enough generation to create a change in the sequence.
What's one takeaway you hope listeners get from our interview tonight?
The biggest takeaway, if there is to be one, is that right now, no matter what is happening in your life, it doesn't matter. It can all be turned for the good. It really, really can. These simple little setting an intention changes your life. It gives your vibration a voice, and that matters a lot. And you can love deeply again. You can love yourself again. You can feel good. These things are so abundant of what life is supposed to be. Like, if there is anything, that would be it.
Finally, what advice would you give someone yearning for spiritual freedom?
Jump in with both feet. Remember in Mary Poppins? Did you see that movie?
Many years ago, yes.
Well, Dick Van Dyke drew the pictures on the sidewalk.
Right.
And Mary Poppins showed up with the kids. And he's trying to do this and shake and wiggle and da-da. And she goes, just jump. And they jump and they're there. And that's all you have to do is have the courage, love, and faith in yourself that as soon as you make that leap, the universe is going to go millions of miles to catch you there.
These are undoubtedly very troublesome times around the world. Any advice for the audience on how to cope with the geopolitical as well as all the nastiness, the negativity that's just coming out of nowhere?
I know, I agree. The biggest part of understanding what new creation is has to come from destruction. It always happens. You know, a volcano appears and new land gets to form.
Right.
You know, there's a wildfire and there's new grass. Trust that this part of sequence of events has to occur in its current state so that we're kind of rid of it, so that we're kind of rid of that energy that created that old stuff. And so just trust that it is working out in our favor.
Do you find that there's more and more people looking for spirituality these days, and that there's a thirst out there, a desire for people to find out more about spirituality and how they can benefit from their participation in spirituality?
The benefit of spirituality, I want to start there because I feel like that is really important to just kind of state. When we act, and like you said, with the political climate and everything, the more that we act through the mind's energy, it has its own energy that with anger or hate or it's not justice, that particular energy is not good for the planet or for other people. So I feel like some people are just finding spirituality because they're kind of pushed to the brink. Like, I can't stand this. Like, there's so much hate. There's so much. Like, I need to find somewhere else. And the more then that people collectively go to spirituality, which means they're taking a stand that they do not want to live that way anymore. And that energy does not get to exist. It's like being able to starve it out. And that is beautiful. So as people enter in, it doesn't matter where you go, just start. And you can trust that you're going to find your way through. If you meet somebody, it doesn't matter, drums, sound circles, crystals. If it doesn't work for you, try a different one. Just keep going. There is something for everyone, and there's usually multiple.
My final thought for tonight is, in your opinion, Mary, is there a difference between spirituality and religion?
I do believe so, very much. My auntie, is very much in the Catholic religion and church. And she said, Mary, you do all this work, and it's all beautiful to me, because to me it's all creation. And she said, why can't you just, be Catholic? And I said, because there's things that they don't, like being gay, that's not welcome. And I said, and that's just not true. I said, if you know that you're created by love and you're created, nobody's rejected. And that to me is what that difference is, spirituality, you understand and know that everybody has their purpose here to have a human experience. And the religion says you can only be welcome if you are in this realm, and that is not true.
Mary, I hate to do this, but we've just run out of time for tonight. I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. Great talking to you. Keep up the great work. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, Mary RAMEY Gray, visit her website, masssoulinfusion.com. Well, that's it for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and streamed around the world on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. That's classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.
Across the sky, aglow with a haunting